Hello everyone, I am Thirteene, and as usual we are going to be playing a terrible brew of mine. So in a video a little while back we ended up playing against an Esper Death Shadows list, and it was running a Danto Vanguard to help power up Death Shadow. And I actually thought that sounded like a lot of fun. I'd also kind of been toying with the idea of a Life Matters theme, where you can pay life, gain it back. Timely Reinforcements is just such a powerful card if you can actually enable both modes of it. And it seems a little counterproductive gaining life with Death Shadow out, but I really do want to actually see if this works. So, per usual, this is just a brew. I'm expecting this power level to probably be along the lines of 4 out of 10. It does have a lot of powerful cards in it. We're running Thoughtseizes, Path to Exiles, Death Shadow, Street Wraith. We have Ley Lines in the side, although to be fair, the black one probably needs to be Surgical Extraction for the theme of this deck. But playing with a couple of fun cards here. And we also have the Solemnity Phyrexian Unlife combo. So there's a decent amount of power level going on, but we're playing with a strategy that has a little bit of give and take. It's going to be a little bit on the slower end. We're not running the tempo cards that make Grixis Death Shadow work, like Stubborn Denial, and we also don't have Temur Battle Rage to one-shot. Instead, we have a couple of ways to draw out the game if we need to, or go wide. So, got a couple of fun options here. So to start, Death Shadow is a 13/13 for 1 mana. It gets bigger as your life total gets lower. So typically people play this. You can expect it to be in the ballpark of a 6/6, a 7/7 in most scenarios. Sometimes people get ballsy, take it up to be an 11/11, 12/12, but it gets bigger the lower your life total is. So if you're willing to drop in life, he can be a significant threat. Danto Vanguard, for those of you playing Standard, it's a 2 mana, attacks as a 3/1, and you can pay life to make it indestructible. The thing to note is that the pay for life, you can do that even if it's already indestructible. So we could technically drop a turn 2 Danto Vanguard, pay basically 16 life, and then drop a couple of 9/9 Death Shadows. And it's possible that we can cheese that out. And then just because it's a fun of, I love the Avatar series. The White Avatar of Hope, if you have 3 or less life, it costs 6 less to play. Then it's a white for a 4/9 flyer that can block any number of creatures. So probably not as valuable as a Death Shadow, and a little bit harder to enable, but it's a one of, fun of. We want to see how it does. To help lower our life total, we have Thoughtseizes, Street Wraith, and then Imp's Mischief. For those of you not aware of this card, it's black 1 for an instant. Change the target of target spell with a single target. You lose life equal to that spell's converted mana cost. So somebody goes to path our Street Wraith. Somebody tries to bolt us when we're at 3 life. We just change the target, lose 1 life, make our Death Shadow bigger. Again, there's 2 of this. It's not necessarily efficiently costed, but it should be clutch enough to have a black misdirect that we might be able to get some fun value out of that. And then last but not least, if we do need to gain some life, we have 3 copies of Timely Reinforcements. If we have less life than the opponent, we gain 6 life. If we have fewer creatures, we get 3 1/1s. So 3 mana, essentially gain 6 life, get 3 1/1s, or whatever half of that we need at any given moment. And then Phyrexian Unlife is actually going to cause a lot of fun interactions with this deck. You don't lose the game for having less than 0 life, and any damage dealt to you with less than 0 life becomes poison counters. So for those unaware, Death Shadow, if we're at 0 life, is going to be a 13/13 for 1. We can pay for life well below 0, and actually I don't believe you can. I believe you can't pay life if you don't have life to pay. It's different than Ad Nauseam. But either way, we can get a lot of these effects while Phyrexian Unlife is out. And as long as that stays on the board, we're going to be able to at least take a couple of poison counters. And that's pretty much the deck here. So again, just white-black, our life total matters. We've got a couple of really powerful cards. We're going to try to swing our life total as is needed. We're not early tempo. We do have some pretty good threats. They're not overly resilient. Lingering Souls is a fantastic card. If you haven't tried playing with Lingering Souls, it is just amazing. So much value off of the one card. We're only running 3 because we already have a ton of 3-drops, but yeah, it should be fun. Other considerations for this deck: Liliana of the Veil to discard Lingering Souls, make people sacrifice creatures, just get incremental value. Sorens, a lot of them gain life, and giving a Death Shadow lifelink is not very productive to our game plan. Collective Brutality could potentially be a more of. We are running the 2 Phyrexian on lives because they essentially say gain 10 life and make all of our stuff that cares about our life total more relevant. And then the 1 Solemnity, if our opponent can't interact with enchantments, it just means that we can't lose the game through life. And sideboard, Worship's kind of a fun of, if you control a creature, your life total can't go below 1. And Phyrexian Arena is just going to be a way to outdraw control matchups. Well, we got our first pairing, so let's go on over. Alright, so our mana base is constructed in a way that we can do a lot of damage to ourselves. I'm actually kind of okay with this. It doesn't do anything super impactful, but we can at least see where this goes. Path to Exile, Lingering Souls, Timely Reinforcements, all strong cards. So, let's see how we do. I think this deck is going to rely a lot on Adanto Vanguard. Opponent's on Scalding Tarn into Steam Vent, so potentially fetch Storm. Is it Phoenix? Serum Visions is making it look a little bit more like... Well, it's not Jeskai more than likely with the Serum Visions, but... Alright, and there's an Adanto Vanguard. So... I'm going to lead on Flagstones, make our opponent think they're possibly playing against Martyr Proc, and we just want to hold up the Path to Exile here. If this is Storm, it's going to be quite bad. If it's Izzet Phoenix, we actually probably have a decent amount of stuff that we can do about it. And I want to get Adanto Vanguard here. Happily take the shock. Again, we kind of want our life total to go a little bit lower. Okay, so actually it might be Goryo's Vengeance. If that's the case, we might be dead here. Storm's pretty much out. There's an Arclight Phoenix, that's fine. So if our opponent combos off here, we'll just path the Arclight Phoenix and have a clock up. They're on 2 Phoenixes. That gets a little bit worse, but Lingering Souls can block for quite a while. And opponent is going to town. So these 2 Phoenixes will come back, see if they got a third. They do not. They're running Terramander, so a little bit creature heavy, but I haven't actually ran this deck yet. I've played against it several times. I'm assuming you only want the 8 creatures in Thing of the Ice Arclight Phoenix, but if this is working for opponent, then it's working. Alright, so opponent didn't tack in. I'm guessing that was a misclick. And Lingering Souls and Path is looking pretty good for next turn. I kind of just want a Timely here. Oh, I should have done that before combat. Alright, as long as they're tapped out, then I'm just going to snag one of these Phoenixes. It's probably more correct to do it on upkeep, but they did show us Izzet Charm. So they're probably running a non-zero amount of counter magic. Timely Reinforcements looking kind of bad versus Thing in the Ice. And they're on Crackling Drake. Alright, so I'm going to fetch here. I do want to kind of preserve my life total, so not going to go after that yet. Just thinking about what I want to do, I think I'm on Lingering Souls with Death Shadow, so that's going to require me fetching and cycling Street Wraith more than likely. Alternatively, Timely Reinforcements is looking a little good, but I think I have to be able to block this Crackling Drake. And Adonto Vanguard can't get in through Crackling Drake, so I'm definitely not attacking. We'll just go ahead and ship it on back. Oh, I was supposed to cycle Street Wraith first. Sorry, a little distracted by the dog at the moment. Alright, another Crackling Drake. This is starting to look kind of bad. So happily take the hit here. Alright, another Death Shadow. So that one's actually going to be able to survive, unlike the last one. Lingering Souls is going to be able to put out 2 more blockers. Timely Reinforcements will make us just gain enough life to be in this. I think I want to cycle Street Wraith, see if we see any different kind of action here. Another Street Wraith. Well, that's fine enough for now for a Timely Reinforcements. Give us a couple ground creatures. Then I want a Street Wraith again. If we get a land, we're going to flash back Lingering Souls, which we do, although I don't necessarily want to pay life, so I'm going to go ahead and run out the second Death Shadow. So we're going to be taking a moderate-sized hit here from the Crackling Drake. Actually, we're just dead. Alright. Yeah, that Death Shadow was definitely the play mistake. If we could have been swinging in, we definitely would have had that. Alright, so Leyline is looking pretty good. It's going to stop the Phoenix plan. It's not going to do anything about the Thing in the Ice. It's going to slow down Terramander. Worship, I don't believe they're going to be able to keep up with. They just don't have enough removal, and they don't have Echoing Truth for sure. Phyrexian Arena is interesting. I feel like this is better for the blue-white control matchup. As far as what's coming out, Dismember can deal with the Drakes. Collective Brutality isn't going to have a lot of hits on it. Orzhov Charm will allow us to kill one of their Drakes or bring back a Death Shadow. I still think Thoughtseize is going to have some value. It loses some, though, and we have to cut 4 cards. This being able to block a Drake is actually quite fantastic. Yeah, I think we're on at least some number of Thoughtseizes. Yeah, it just might be all of them. So, assuming that first Death Shadow didn't die because I wasn't paying attention to the game at that current moment, we could have paid any amount of life and swung in with the Adonto Vanguard and the Death Shadow with any number of the Lingering Souls tokens. That would have just allowed us to sequence around the Timely Reinforcements. And this hand is just god-awful. I kind of want a Leyline. I don't need more than one. and still not great. Street Wraith is a redraw, though. We also get a Scry. So, Worship actually reads, if you control a creature, damage that would reduce your life total less than 1 will reduce it to 1 instead. We did see Thing in the Ice from them, which makes this a little bit worse. So, if we see Path to Exile, we basically have to hold it up for the Thing in the Ice. But they shouldn't be able to interact with all of our tokens in a meaningful way. And they also shouldn't have the ability to bounce the enchantment. So, assuming we can go wide enough, I don't believe our opponent can deal with this. Again, these probably just need to be surgical extractions, another way for us to pay life and get Death Shadow to be larger, as well as taking out problem cards. Having these redundant ley lines in here don't do a whole lot, but potentially being able to snag a fetch land or take out the Phoenix or discard and then take out the Thing in the Ice from their deck would make that much more relevant. They were significantly more expensive, and I already had these in collection though. Opponent cannot figure out if they want to play or not. Alright, they decide to keep their hand. We want a land. I'm just going to put both of these out here. We don't have Faithless Looting or anything to discard them. And ship it on over to opponent, but this hand is not looking great. I do want to cycle Street Wraith here. I kind of want a little bit more information. And not hitting another land's pretty painful here. Alright, opponent is definitely tanking on how to scry. Oh, they put both to the bottom. Our opponent's just playing super slow. I want to be able to draw a future land, so I'm not going to crack this, as well as this being a way to lower our life total if we get to the point we can play a Death Shadow. Cracking this and getting a shock and playing a Thoughtseize represents 5 life, which would almost get us to the point of being able to play the Shadow. And we're kind of coming up blank. Interesting sequencing from opponent. Alright, happy with that Marsh Flats. So we can actually get low enough to cast Death Shadow here. I kind of want to put out the Lingering Souls just so that our opponent is incentivized to flip this Thing in the Ice. So assuming they can flip this, we're not going to have our tokens anymore, but putting up a clock to force them to flip this is going to be a way for us to be able to start committing into this worship. We do have to keep in mind they had Is It Charm, so counter unless we pay 2. So assuming opponent has an Opt or Serum Visions and an additional land, they should be able to flip this. There's the Thought Scour. They're going to target us despite the fact we have Lingering Souls. Then bolt us, swing in for 7. Yep, that's fine. We'll be running out the timely reinforcements regardless of if we have a land or not. And put it on our opponent to be able to answer the worship when we get a land. Death Shadow will come out and be a moderately decent size. And seeing as we haven't resolved this yet, I am actually going to chump block for one turn. Blood Moon. Okay, that makes things a little more difficult. So we run 2 planes? 1 planes. Alright. So I was going to get in with 1 soldier, but in case they do have a bolt for the backup, I'm just going to leave both on defense for now. We don't have any way to pay life, so I'm just going to get the F6 value in. This Phoenix deck has been thoroughly annoying every time I've played against it. They can just churn through so much of their deck to find whatever they need, and they end up getting the flexibility to run Blood Moon. And our opponent is on a very suboptimal build, and they're even targeting us with Thought Scours, but we are on a janky brew, but we're just falling so far behind, it's not even moderately close. And they have the Lightning Axe. Yep. Alright. So we could potentially draw a plains for next turn, and that's our only out, is not block and draw plains. And have them not be on counter magic. Okay, that just made things significantly more difficult. Let's see if they have the bolt. Got shot. Alright. Yep, thorough beating from the Phoenix deck. Pretty sure everybody was expecting that, though. Currently 0-1. Gonna go ahead and run it back, though. Alright, so we have Thoughtseize, Orzhov Charm, and 5 of our 22 lands on the draw. This probably shouldn't be a keep. Especially against Tron. We need quicker pressure faster. But I'm always tempted to keep hands like this. You just know you're going to be drawing gas. Dismember's not much gas against them, though. Alright, so they have Tron. So this Ugin's going to be the thing we care about most. Next turn's going to be Tower, crack the Expedition map, get Power Plant. And Death Shadow is pretty interesting pickup. So next turn they're going to be able to put out a 3/3 Walking Ballista. I think this is just our best plan for the moment, is run out Death Shadow next turn with Orzhov Charm backup, so we can keep it in play. Spatial Contortion is going to make that a little complicated, though, because it needs to at least be a 4/4. And with the Walking Ballista being able to ping for 3. Oh, and they're on Bluetron. Yep, there's the Walking Ballista. Okay, so I actually think I'm on the dismember plan here. Because this allows us to shock this into play, or just play it, and it should be able to survive the spatial contortion. Ooh, I also really like that Adonto Vanguard. So, sequencing here is going to be Death Shadow. And then this is going to deal 1 damage to me. To go to 9, so this will be a 4-4 and be able to survive the spatial contortion. And then Adonto Vanguard's definitely going to eat the spatial contortion, but we have a clock now. Opponent does have Tron, so it's very possible they just slam an Ugin and we lose. Opponent says, cool. I like playing with a little bit more tech than I'm sure other people are. If anybody's watched any of my streams, I'm sure that they've come to that conclusion themselves. Alright, so they ran out the island. I know I have a spatial contortion in my future. So Adonto Vanguard's going down. The question is, how much life do I want to pay? Probably just 4? Or opponent just lets it through. Okay. So if I pay 4 life, it's an 8-8. They're on a 2-turn clock. I really should have just done that. I thought for sure they were going to kill it before damage. That doesn't save it. I was fully aware of that going in. Minus is going to make it die to state-based actions. Being indestructible, it's still going to have the -3 on it. But this is now a 2-turn clock. Orzhov Charm can bring back Death Shadow, but not Adonto Vanguard. We do have 2 pieces of removal here, so I guess I could have actually bounced the Adonto Vanguard. Although I don't think that would have furthered our game plan much. Opponent has 4 unknown cards in hand and active Tron. I'm assuming they have a lot of counter magic. There's Batter Skull. That was a consideration for this deck, just being a 4-4 with lifelink felt insanely relevant. We'll see if they actually have interactions for this. If they have a hard counter, I'm probably going to destroy this to lose 4 life to make this a 12-12. Then that way Phyrexian Unlife will be lethal. So opponent definitely has a counter, and they're trying to figure out how to value it. It might just potentially be a Remand or a Condescend. Alright, so Timely is one of the draws that really makes me question why I was addressing in the deck tech of we have our opponent tempoed down, and this is a terrible draw for that. And unfortunately, I'm kind of at a point where... So this would be 7, 8, 9, 10. A Walking Ballista would be lethal here. They probably have Thirst for Knowledge, so they're going to draw 3 cards. If we gain 6 life, that's going to put us at 11, making Death Shadow a 2-2. I think I'm going to pay a life off of this and actually just cast the Timely Reinforcements. I'm very afraid of the Walking Ballista on the other side. An opponent definitely has some interaction here. If this resolves, I'm shocking in this Godless Shrine, so I can Orzhov Charm the Death Shadow back into play. I cannot F6 here. I might need to return this to my hand. Okay, so they're just on Batterskull, which means if they replay it for 5 mana and have nothing else, we can destroy it, lose 4 life, and still win. Yep, there's the Batterskull. And we'll see if they have that counter magic. This will take us back down to 4, and we should be able to beat stick them for 9. Opponent was probably very confused by our sequencing there. This would have been significantly closer if I was smarter with the Adanto Vanguard. But we had to gain the life so that we could lose the life here when we attack in. Let's see what kind of interaction our opponent has. This also will tell us a little bit more for next game, although I'm pretty sure this is just standard blue. Alright, so this actually doesn't do anything. We can pay a life off of the Caves of Kolios. Oh, he's targeting his own Torrential. Yeah, that still doesn't do it. So they did have the Condescend. Then we're probably attacking into the Batterskull next turn unless we happen to draw our Path to Exile. We also have Dismember as an out. Oh, Worm Coil makes things go very south very quickly. They have enough to equip it. They should have equipped it. Okay, so funny enough, I actually have to block here. Because if I attack in, they get 2 tokens, and the 2 tokens are lethal. I can make Death Shadow at 12/12 if they swing in, though. So they'll gain 6, go up to 11, and I have lethal on the backswing. If they equip the Batterskull, really not doing well. So basically looking at Path or Dismember. They should have gone after the cave since we can pay life at will for this. That's fine. Lingering Souls also gives us a ton of blockers. Avatar of Hope is not going to do anything. We have 3 pass, the Phyrexian Unlife. And funny enough, Timely Reinforcements is now a live draw. Oh, Street Wraith is not what you want to see. Alright, well, in case opponent doesn't block, go ahead and swing in. And then we'll take the honorable way out. Actually, they haven't seen a Street Wraith yet. I'm not going to show that to them. GG's opponent. Alright, so we lost that one. It was incredibly close. We actually would have taken it had we used the Adanto Vanguard correctly. It's really hard not to get tilted by that kind of thing. So Blue Tron, we can start dealing with their Worm Coil. We have a couple of outs for the Platinum Angel, Sundering Titan will be a little annoying, but nothing we can't deal with. I definitely want the dampening spheres to slow them down significantly. Their Mindslaver lock requires the graveyard, so there's probably some consideration for Leyline of the Void. Depending on the build, I know some only run one Oblivion Stone, and a couple are a little bit more aggressive on them. The Worship would survive everything in their deck with the exception of Oblivion Stone. I highly doubt that they could get EE up to 4, although it is possible. I guess they run Cyclonic Rift and potentially Echoing Truth. Okay, so Worship's looking worse and worse. I think they're going to have some answers for that. Dampening Sphere is looking really good as a tempo play. I love the discard to be able to take out their counter spells. Orzhov Charm, despite being an out in that last one, is probably bad. I like the instant speed get back at Death Shadow that was countered, so it's probably getting a little bit higher value there. Solemnity is cute with Walking Ballista and still is part of our combo. This combo is probably more effective than Worship. As far as cuts, I feel like Lingering Souls, like we can at least trim a little bit on. They're not going to have creatures, so it's probably just the timely reinforcements. And then I can bring in a Phyrexian Arena. They're not going to pressure our life total until they're going infinite, so I kind of like this. Drawing cards is potentially going to be our out to their infinite counters. Alright, we have 2 Vanguards, we have a Duress, and Hate. It's a little sad that this doesn't start until turn 2, and we don't look like we're going to be multicasting anytime soon, but willing to give it a shot. Let's see what they exile. Supreme Will. Alright. I don't necessarily want to take the damage here unless we have to. We have 2 life outlets, so can kind of do things at our will here. And I don't necessarily feel like I need to see a land. Again, just going to try to keep life total high so we have a couple of different payment outs. They're not even remotely close to Tron, so just going to put a little pressure out. Unlike Eldrazi, I'm pretty sure that Blue Tron runs all 4 of each land. Cracking main phase is probably not great for them. If they're already playing Field of Ruins, it means that they're probably missing land drops here. Getting Academy Ruins. Alright, so they are on the Mindslaver plan. That's the case, they're not. I don't have a reason to use this dampening sphere yet. I'm just going to try to get my clock up as fast as possible. This attacking in for 6 is 3-turn clock. Collective Brutality can also drain for 2, so if something happens, slow us down a little bit, we can potentially just shave off another 2 damage. Yep, and opponent is missing their land drops and their colors. So I want to do this pre-combat, just in case they have something. We're going to Duress and Drain. And discard the Lingering Souls for most value. Oh, that taps for blue. Derp to derp. Alright, that's fine. Opponent still only has 2 turns to get out of this. And I'm leaving up the white for the path to exile. I'm probably just going to go grab another Godless Shrine. Alright, so they're on the Worm Coil plan. I'm actually just going to dismember here so I can path the Worm Coil. Also don't want to give them a 5th mana in case they're getting close to the... My words just escaped my mouth. I don't want to give them the 5th land in case the top deck land and then can just hardcast Worm Coil. And I do want to start drawing additional cards here. They still don't have Tron, so the Dampening Sphere isn't going to do a whole lot. Plus, it looks like we might be able to win next turn, so I want to be able to make sure they don't see our sideboard hate. Finally found a Tron piece. And yeah, they scoop it up. As far as cuts here, I still think Phyrexian Arena might be okay. That game was more of our opponent failing than us succeeding. Seeing how highly they are valuing that Mindslaver lock, Leyline might get a little bit of value. I might see 2 of these over 2 of these. Just ensure that they can't go that way without an O-Ring first. Or Oblivion Stone. I was thinking mono white. And Imps Mischief for the counter spell. Collected Brutality, Death Shadow. So we're going to be hitting ourselves really hard here for damage. But this hand seems alright. And do want to take the damage. Can't play Death Shadow in turn 1. Oh boy, opponent looks like they were on the natural Tron draw. But we have sideboard hate. Let's see what you got, opponent. Nothing? Okay, and we also have the lock here, so I'm going to drop as low as I can because we want to keep this clock as real as possible. So they have a Spatial Contortion for the Death Shadow. Probably have to take that. Repeal, Thirst for Knowledge. Actually, I think it's the repeal. We can manage a lot of what they're doing without it. Then if I play Death Shadow, it's going to be a 3/3, which means it just gets Spatial Contortion, so I think I have to pass it back. Dampening Sphere making it so that we can't cast Collective Brutality this turn. Alright, so opponent has blue. They're definitely holding up the Condescend and the Thirst for Knowledge. So I can give them something worth countering here. And it's probably just going to be Duress Collective Brutality. I don't want to gain life, and I can't multi-spell. This is definitely going to take their counter spell, and then I should be able to get lock pieces down. Nope, not paying for it. They get a Scry, which is a little unfortunate, but they have to find themselves a bounce spell to deal with this Dampening Sphere. So they have Thirst for Knowledge that they can play, and one unknown. I think I'm just running out of double Death Shadow here. They're going to kill one of them, but I need to get some pressure, otherwise they're just going to start hard casting everything in their hand. We really needed one more land. So, Batterskull? Alright, as long as they're tapped down, I want Phyrexian on life. It adds 10 life to our life total, and it also is going to potentially hard lock them out of the game here. And if they just continue attacking us, we're going to have a lot of things that we can do at a low life total. Don't know if that's the best decision, opponent. There's the Treasure Mage. And getting the Worm Coil. Alright. So I think first things first is we're going to attack. And we have up Dismember and Death Shadow. Wait, we actually know our opponent's hand. Alright, so Solemnity it is. And they have to have Oblivion Stone, otherwise I'm pretty sure we get this. So Thirst here, draw 3 cards, discard 2 unless you discard an artifact. The artifact's probably going to be the Walking Ballista or potentially a Mana Stone. Yep, there's the Walking Ballista. So 4 unknown cards in hand with a Worm Coil. There's the Worm Coil. I kind of want to see a path for that. I'm not overly psyched about blocking it. We're attacking into it. So I think it's just Death Shadow here, and we can hold up Imps Mischief or Dismember. So for those of you unaware for when Solemnity came out, Phyrexian on Life says you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. And then as long as you have 0 or less life, redirect all damage that would be dealt gets dealt as though it had Infect, so we'd be getting poison counters. Then Solemnity says counters can't be placed on players, so we have infinite life. And that has more than one target, so I mean, I can kill myself here, but I'm pretty sure opponent got it. Alright, GG's opponent. Yeah, Cyclonic Rift is just super good. I suppose that's why not many of them run the stone. Alright, well, taking a little bit of a beating so far. But we have been putting up a fight, which is kind of what you want from a brew. We'll take the play on this one. And we have a life outlet. We have some powerful cards. I'm happy with this. And the classic, go to 15 in Modern. Alright, so opponent is on a brew themselves. They have Fatal Push, Growth Spiral, Ops. Green-blue lands matter. Okay, well, I think I want the... Actually, the push doesn't do anything against the Vanguard, so I think we're on the Growth Spiral. Just make it so that they're not ramping faster than us. A little interesting to see what they go for here. And I do want to conserve my life total a little bit. Seeing something like this makes me really think that they are on a long game plan. Spell Snare? Okay. I would have been super sad there. Okay, so they're probably on Eternal Command from what I can make out so far. Eternal Command is Eternal Witness with Cryptic Command, so you can just keep bouncing the Eternal Witness and picking up the Cryptic Command. It's very intensive on mana, but it is actually a pretty good strategy. It used to be really popular back in like 2015, 2016. It was a little bit before I started getting into Magic, or at least into Modern. And I want to 2-mode this. I'm half expecting a counterspell at this point, but I want to duress them, see what they picked up, and get rid of a Lingering Souls here. Again, this Fatal Push lost a lot of value since Adanto Vanguard is our threat. But they're probably going to opt. There's an argument to opt before discard and after discard. If you can opt into a land, it essentially fizzles the discard spell. But if you draw into something that you actually care about, like a Planeswalker, it makes it quite painful because then they just discard the Planeswalker. Alright, so they are on Sultai. I should probably start considering seeing Termaglyphs in my near future. Alright, so there's the opt. So this probably means that they have no non-creatures in hand. Yep, just a lot of lands. Which is fine. We have a clock, they don't. They're at 10. They're essentially on a 3-turn clock, and we're going to be casting Lingering Souls next turn, more than likely. And they drew a Polluted Delta. Lovely. I actually was probably supposed to cycle the Street Wraith before doing anything else there. Then I am going to cycle here in case we have a way to discard this Lingering Souls or have a 2-drop to cast with this Lingering Souls, which we don't. Although the one from Graveyard is going to make it more likely that we can do something with the Dismember if they play a creature. This also speeds up our clock. And that might have been bad from opponent. They clearly don't want to draw another land, but it did bring them within a 2-turn clock from just Adanto Vanguard. So I was expecting Cryptic Command there, but I'm guessing opponent just didn't want to show it to us. So I'm going to be treating this like it's Cryptic Command. They are using the Growth Spirals as a way to ramp into being able to cast something for 4 mana, and it's already in their colors. Assuming that is the case, I want the Phyrexian Arenas because they're going to allow us to get our card advantage back. Thoughtseize, again, is at a premium versus control decks. Imps Mischief is also a counter spell. Avatar of Hope's probably less good. We're not going to want to go that low. And no creatures for Timely. I'd probably rather have Avatar over another Timely. There might be some argument for Leyline of Sanctity, assuming that they do have Cryptic Command, they won't be able to target us. This combo gets significantly worse with bounce spells, as we saw in the last game. Worship, also super bad versus bounce spells. This is more for humans or the like that can't target creatures on the ground. This might just be where we're at. I'm not stoked about these 3 cards, but they're probably better than Timely Reinforcements, as our opponent didn't show us any creatures. Could also be that they are just on a super land-heavy Infect. Well, we have a threat, we have a little bit of recursion and protection, and a discard spell. I'm happy to keep this. And another Death Shadow is what you you want to see when you're lowering your life this much. See what opponent's up to. Mystical Teachings. Search your library for an instant card with flash, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So they're actually a combo deck. Anytime you look at a hand like this, if you're not even sure what you want, Snapcaster is going to value anything that you discard, so Snapcaster is a 2-for-1. He is a little bit slower, but I'm okay with my opponent growth spiraling, but I don't really want them to be able to put a Snapcaster into play and then growth spiral. Mystical Teachings. I'm trying to think if I know what that is. I more than likely know the card. I just don't think I've ever seen this in an actual modern deck. But 0-2 bracket is apparently where all the jank is at. As far as what I want to do here, I kind of want to get a... So they are on Sultai. So they played their Watery Grave. Danto Vanguard can lower my life total at will. I'm just trying to figure out how low I want to go off of this. I think I might just go get a Plains. Because our opponent didn't have anything at the current moment, but that doesn't mean that they can't kill a Danto Vanguard now. I don't want to pay 3 life and then have to pay 4 to protect it. But next turn I can just pay 4 and make it so that I can cast my Death Shadows. Alright, so 2 unknowns in hand, about to be 3. And I actually really like Phyrexian Arena here, although opponent probably has... This is instant. They're likely going to try to Mystical Teachings here. But let's see. So I can shock this into play, go to 13, pay 4, make these 4 4s, be able to swing in for lethal next turn. That's probably just more correct. I'm always so tempted to draw cards, though. No, 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 no. I did it again. God damn it. God damn it. Alright. Well, I'm going to use that as an instant speed trick then. So you play for whatever's best at the moment, not to correct your mistake. Playing another Death Shadow here doesn't make a lot of sense. Being able to hold up Orzhov Charm does. So, Mystical Teachings. To go get an instant card or a card with flash. So it actually might be the Mystic Snake. Echoing Decay. Interesting. Okay, so he wants to kill a Danto Vanguard here. 4 mana to go tutor up a removal spell seems a little expensive, though. This is also going to force our opponent to tap, which is relevant, so we can run out Phyrexian Arena if we are expecting the longer game. And this is representing a 2-turn clock, so opponent will have to kill a Danto Vanguard here. I'm running this out in case paying 1 life is relevant here. I'm more than likely playing a 3-drop and a Death Shadow, depending on what happens in combat. Alright, so if I pay 4 life here, they're going to take 8, go to 5, and then I'll have 2 threats. Yeah, I think I want to pay life 1 more time. I don't believe our opponent's going to pressure enough for 5 life that isn't a good decision. Then I want to get out Phyrexian Unlife, see if that gets countered. If it does, then it means that this other Death Shadow should just be able to go the distance. Yep, that's fine. Second Death Shadow, and then it's going to be on our opponent to have something that can kill 2 Death Shadows with the 3 cards in hand. One of which being an island. Alright, so expecting Cryptic here. So not casting anything pre-combat for that very deliberate reason. Yep, there's the Cryptic, tap draw, that's fine. And then I actually want a Phyrexian Arena here. Our opponent is getting to the point they can cast Cryptics and continue drawing cards, so I'd like to be able to draw cards myself. And another Remand. Alright. Good on you, opponent. So they are getting to the point that they can flash back the mystical teachings. Alright, do you have another Cryptic opponent? Of course you do. Tap draw again. So when playing against Cryptic, you want to make sure that you're casting all of your spells second main, because that makes it significantly less likely that they're able to get full value out of it. They can't counter and tap, where they have to cycle here and get into another counter. Yeah, opponent knows that this Phyrexian Arena is going to be the death of them, so they're trying to find another counter as hard as they can. And those of you not familiar with Commander Staple, I probably should have gone over this a while ago. It's 3 mana, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose a life. Modern players might be more familiar with Dark Confidant, that loses life equal to the converted mana cost, that's also attached to a creature. Opponent might be trying to combo now. But they have 1 card in hand, and apparently it's not action, so gotta see what the SOP gets them. They probably have Nexus of Fate. I'm good with Thoughtseize. Fish out the counterspell. So this is a moment where Cryptic can counter tap, but they're going to be running it anyway. Oh, that was smart of opponent. Okay. So they're waiting to Cryptic until I go to combat. And they might even just bounce Phyrexian Arena. Or try to draw into their Nexus or whatever their eventual combo piece is. Yep, tap draw. And I just don't want the Snapcaster around, especially when we're at 2. Cryptic can bounce Phyrexian Unlife and all of our work goes away. So they have to have Dispel here. Street Wraith is actually looking a little bit better as a 3/4 unblockable creature here. We are going to need like a timely reinforcements or something, and I believe we cited those out. Yeah, we did. So we're actually going to need Collective Brutality in order to gain enough life that this can redraw. And Phyrexian Arena is going to kill us first, so... We've put an opponent to the test, though. They've been chaining Cryptics. So, Kraxus? Is that what I'm looking at? Blue Suns? Alright. Well, opponent, let's see if you ended up drawing into your win condition. It's looking kind of bad. They're up to 8 cards. They're going to untap all their mana. And then do you have Nexus? Do you want to take another turn? Discards a land. Alright, we're going up an additional card. Where's Up Charm is a little cute. Alright. It actually may have been correct to cycle a Street Wraith before the Phyrexian Arena trigger. I don't believe we can pay anymore, so this is just a creature now, where this could have been something else, and we could have gotten -1 off of the Phyrexian Unlife with no cost. Opponent's having a really hard time figuring out what they want to do here, though. I'm expecting this to be the Hydroid Kraxus, and somebody's just playing with it, and the opponent hasn't shown us any intent that that's what they're doing. Or Krasis? I don't know how to pronounce that. This guy? But he's definitely taking his dear sweet time to figure out what to do with 6 cards in hand. This deck should have had a non-zero number of Shambling Vents in it as well. I went with the Flagstones because of the way that it can minimally filter out our deck, get some of the lands out. It can also get a Godless Shrine. When it gets sacrificed, it's a legendary land that lets you go replace it with the plains when it's destroyed. Okay. So they clearly think that they have the counterspell for the Phyrexian Unlife. Yep, there's a remand. I want to see if they have a way to kill us if they're just expecting the Phyrexian Arena to kill us, because we can be a lot more conservative with our life total. Creeping Tar Pit. Okay. Opponent, I'm not going to lie, that was a little sad. What can we do here? So Leyline is getting a little bit more value for the reason I mentioned last time we looked at sideboarding. They can't target us with the right half that they need for Cryptic Command. Opponent's deck is insanely slow and painful, so what else do we care about? They're not exiling. Orzhov Charm is looking pretty decent there. Street Wraith was looking a little bad. I care more about our life total because it looks like they're just going to literally try to stall out the game. They drew 7 cards and weren't able to put any pressure on us. Dismember is actually probably worse than Street Wraith. Yeah, I just don't like the removal. I don't really want to cut paths because I am expecting that Krasis, Crassus, giant flampoline jellyfish. These ley lines are probably too much, but I'll give it a shot. I want a little action. That hand is close to keepable, but I want threats, and it looks like I don't get them. But not gonna let that get away for no reason. I do want the lingering souls. It's very hard for them to 1-for-1 anything when you're creating 8 1/1s. Funny enough, if this Orzhov Charm could have targeted our enchantment, we would have won last game. And again, no Death Shadow, just going to take this nice and slowly. That Adanto Vanguard is looking a little tempting, but I think I just want to lead on the Lingering Souls. Being on the other side as a control player, I never feel good countering Lingering Souls. This is probably going to be a remand, and it's the best our opponent can do to cycle. That also likely means our opponent actually has some good cards in hand. Remanding from graveyard still exiles it, and we just don't get the spirits, but they get a draw card. Yep, so opponent's definitely on the remand plan. To be fair, their strategy likely just cares about hitting their land drops and not dying early game, and we're not presenting much of a clock, so it's probably fine for them. I don't want to get remanded on Collective Brutality, so just going to run it back. If they Cryptic this, it's fine. Also means we're likely double spelling next turn, so even better. Opponent is playing insanely slow for being a control list. Like, you typically learn to make your decisions quickly as you're playing a slow game plan, but he doesn't seem to quite get what he wants to do. Yep, gotta go ahead and tutor. So he's likely looking for the same thing as last time, to remove all the tokens at once. Yep, Echoing Decay. We can actually bounce it with Orzhov Charm if we commit in. Collective Brutality is also going to snag that from hand for 1 mana. Really just want to make our land drop here. We need to be able to multi-spell to keep up now that they've got enough mana for Cryptic. And there it is. So I just want to duress here. He's not low enough that the drain's going to be worth our time, and it's likely this gets countered anyway. And depending on how hard he works to counter this, Danto Vanguard landing is going to be very hard for his deck to kill. We're going to take the Decay, or he's going to cast it here, and then Fatal Push doesn't do anything against Vanguard. Counterbounce a Spirit. Okay, that means a very stacked hand. And it also means that we have to flashback Lingering Souls. So he's going to get a 3-for-1 off of this Decay, but it's still only 3/4 of the card Lingering Souls. And Danto Vanguard's going to be our big finisher here, as he's very hard to remove. Alternatively, next turn we can play Danto Vanguard and always use the Mischief to redirect something. Okay, Brutality is looking good again. I think I want to go to combat in case they want to blow Cryptics on 3 spirits. Alright, so return target creature you control and all ores attached to hand. So this interaction here is actually me essentially killing my own spirit to fizzle the additional same name clause of the Echoing Decay. And they didn't care about that enough to Cryptic it. But I want to see what's going on, because our opponent has been playing very weirdly. Not just slow, but weirdly. Like, they've been holding cards and leaving Cryptic mana up, but not committing to anything. This deck has got to scoop so hard to choke, though. Everything I've seen has been an island. Alright, so Abrupt Decay, Pulse. They don't really have a creature they care about. I don't want them to get one of their Creeping Tars back. I think the gain 6 life is actually a lot more relevant in this matchup. Decay hitting our enchantments is actually the take there. So they've been trying to represent the Cryptic, but I guess they didn't have a second one. And what feels like the first time they actually played a land we knew about. So what do I care about here? So they can pick up a land with Pulse. They can push something. I think I'm just going to Lingering Souls here and see what they're on with holding up Path to Exile. They don't have a lot going on, and this speeds up the clock without forcing me to play out Vanguard. Also allows me to multi-spell next turn with the Imps Mischief to redirect if they decide to try to do something. If they try to Snapcaster Decay, I'm perfectly okay pathing my own creature. Alright, and they're probably going to try to start chaining Cryptics then. Yep, went for Snapcaster. Hopefully they commit on this Decay. Cryptic would feel bad. Decided that the Snapcaster is better off on the Decay. Alright. There's Snappy Boy. And I'm actually just going to be a little cute. I don't honestly think I'm going to be able to do this all that often, so I'm just going to do it now. Losing 4 life is pretty painful, but it's only going to get Cryptic Command if they're on the draw clause and we don't steal the draw, so... Cryptic for counter draw. Alright. So then I'm pathing my spirit. We don't even lose life here. Sorry, opponent. Who knew Death Shadow was a control deck? Alright, so the Echoing Truth is gone. I can flash back part of Lingering Souls, but I think I want to get Vanguard out. Because I believe they're officially out of answers for this, and they're tapped down, so it can't get countered. Activating Tar Pit? Nope, they got the Reclamation. Okay, so we know about a push, we know about a pulse, and that's it. Pulse of Marasa is another instance where Surgical would probably just be better than Leyline. I would 100% be bringing Surgical in this matchup, where I don't believe it's correct against to bring in the Leylines. Alright, no Cryptic. So, flashing back Lingering Souls is definitely on my radar here. They're going to try to Fatal Push now. Yep. The way it's... Oh, they targeted that. My bad. I'm trying to do combat math. So they have Pulse of Marasa to gain 6 life. They're going to be going to 7. I'll have 5 on the backswing, so yeah, I have to flash back this Lingering Souls. I'm going to bait it out with this Phyrexian Unlife, though. They're going to feel like they have to counter this if they have it. They only have 1 card in hand, so it's coming down to this turn. And we'll see if they've got an answer. I forgot they grabbed Snappy. Yep, that's bad. Just going for the Unlife already? They are afraid of that combo. They have plenty of answers, and if we get below 0 and they bounce it, we just die. But they can do as they like. I actually do believe we fell behind on opponent in this game a long time ago. They could have been using Cryptic to bounce Snapcaster to continue casting Cryptics and counters, but they don't really seem to be on that plan. Oh, yep. Second Tar Pit is lethal. Alright, well, opponent just had much higher level power cards than we did, and they saw a lot more. Surgical would have definitely helped in that matchup. Just getting rid of Cryptic, and our opponent is completely out of gas. But moving to 0-3, not great. Still willing to give this a shot, though. It's not like we've just been steamrolled by anything except for probably Is It Phoenix. That was just pretty painful. Another matchup, we probably need surgicals. I probably just need to cave and pick those up. We have the ability to come down fast and hard with a Death Shadow, and we have the ability to kind of grind out with a lot of those life gain cards that just have a lot of value at a cost, and the synergy pieces are there. So far, though, haven't seen an Avatar of Hope. I was originally trying to run 3, but there are a lot of good cards. Ended up only going with 3 Lingering Souls, which doesn't quite feel correct. Even running Abzan with Bob, you're up to 4, and that's a 3 CMC to drop that, and it doesn't have immediate payoff other than blockers. Dismember is just such a good card, especially with the flexibility to pay life with Death Shadow out. It hits a lot of things that we care about, like Thing in the Ice, Hollow One, a Matter Reshape, not Matter Reshaper, Reality Smasher, Thought Not Seer. Just basically any of those threats. We didn't see a single path against our control opponent there. Being able to answer the lands when they activated probably would have meant lethal on the backswing. The Orzhov Charm is a little bit cute, given the fact that Adanto Vanguard is probably a better threat in this deck than Death Shadow as a standalone. Means that Orzhov Charm isn't getting the value of reanimating something with 1 CMC. Being able to grab a Death Shadow, it feels quite powerful. We've also been getting a little unlucky with our matchups. Bluetron and the random cryptic Abrupt Decay mess is actually going to be able to answer our enchantments. We did get lockouts against both of those opponents, and they were just able to bounce them and just say, well, it's a little too cute for Modern. So that's a little rough. The Timely Reinforcements is a very powerful card. Again, we've played control matchups, and we've had to take them out. The creatures didn't really feel like they did anything. We probably need to be a little bit more on a tempo plan than potentially regain life at the end. And if that's the case, then probably no Timely Reinforcements. Collected Brutalities can just go up. They're a very powerful card. It's been an interesting deck so far. Basically anything that could potentially run Phyrexian Arena, I'm already signing up for. We did have that one turn when we could have put lethal on the board or played Phyrexian Arena, and I was just staring at the arena, not realizing we had lethal on board. Alright, well, 0-4 bracket, and no white source. A lot of white cards, no lands. I could technically scry, but I don't like those odds. And pretty miserable keep here. Don't want that land. Again, I think Flagstones says the least about us. So I'm going to go ahead and lead on that. Caverns naming humans. Alright, this matchup might be a little bit more our speed. And the 8th Vial comes down. I want to see what I get with Street Wraith. Orzhov Charm. Alright, not particularly the best against them, but alright with a little bit of gas, especially at lower mana cost. Marsh Flats is going to do its thing. Funny enough, getting to 3 or less life, Meddling Mage is going to wreck that Avatar. Alright, so this represents a lot of pressure very quickly. So I'm definitely going to path it. So paying the shock here, if we win, it's probably going to be on the back of the Avatar without them having a Reflector Mage, which feels quite unlikely, but I think that's just our current positioning. This deck should have been running Horizon Canopies. We can pay life for mana, and we can also cycle it into more card draw later. That actually would help this deck a lot. We also probably needed a Damnation or a Wrath of God on the side. Ended up trying to pair for unfair matchups and control, and we kind of just got wrecked by control. This deck actually is a weird tempo mid-range deck, and mid-range isn't great, and tempo needs to close out the game before it gets to mid-range. This might actually not be the best concept for a deck, but I really want to play with the idea of your life total matters. Death Shadow is just such a powerful card, and Grixis is probably the most ideal way to run it. There could probably be Gurmag Anglers in here too. I want to see what they name. Probably just another Path, potentially Fatal Push. There's the Fatal Push. So, good name by opponent. We're not actually running them, but... Alright, so I'm actually expecting this to be a Phantasmal Image, so I'm going to kill this now. Then they have to copy the Noble Hierarch. But they're expecting us to be 4 Path, 4 Fatal Push, and we already used 1 Path, which means it's more likely to see one of the 4 Fatal Pushes than the 3 Path to Exiles. So that was a good name by opponent. I think that this was a little sloppy if this is a Phantasmal Image. Yeah, they opted into not putting anything into play. Or are they still resolving this? No, they did. Alright. So if they had Phantasmal and Thalias, that was actually a really good play. Ooh, a lot of Thalias Lieutenants. Alright, this one's slipping away pretty quick now. I basically need a Solemnity and a Phyrexian Unlife back-to-back. Well, that's a start. I do think I want to try to preserve my life total in case I can buy one more turn. Unfortunately, there's only a single Solemnity in the deck. And we're looking at 6 damage on the table. Probably more. They likely can cast 2 humans, one of which being a Mantis Rider. That'd be 12. Would be just lethal. Although we do get 10 life out of this, so... Like I said, one more turn. This will allow us to go negative. Avatar of Hope can come down and block any number of creatures, making blocking awkward for them for at least a little while. There's the Mantis Rider. So 9, 10, 11. This is a Phantasmal Image they had on turn 3. So 13, 16. Yeah, especially with the off-color fetch lands like the Verdant Catacombs being unable to fetch while negative, they really should just be Shambling Vents as an additional threat. But opponent, are you ready for an Avatar of Hope? I didn't think so. Yep, take a second to read that. So I'm still probably dead here. For those of you unaware, Phyrexian Unlife says as long as you have 0 or less life. So opponent actually hit us for 3 over. Instead of getting 3 poison counters, it took us below 0, which means now we're going to start accruing poison counters. So this did save us essentially 3 life in the cutover, as well as gaining us the 10 infect damage, but we're still on the hook for 9, 14, 15, 16 damage, and Avatar of Hope is 9 toughness, so this is probably getting in for... Yep. I'm going to block these. And take 7, 10. Nope, that doesn't work. So I want to kill the Sully's Lieutenant, which means I can take 8 and have it die to that? That can't be right. I'm going to try to block over here, but if they have any humans to flash in, this goes horribly. We're basically dead as it is. Wait, I can't choose blocking orders? Okay. That is unfortunate. We do also buy another turn here by blocking and then using Orzhov Charm to return Avatar of Hope after it blocks all valid creatures. But unless we see Solemnity, this is going to look pretty bad, and even then we have to hope that they don't have Knight of Autumn or Rexage in their board somewhere. I believe all those are reserved for sideboard, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. Yeah, I was kind of hoping Avatar of Hope would have like Vigilance or something. Being a 4/9 just doesn't seem relevant enough for such a steep cost. But you can only ask so much of your fun ofs, and this is buying us 3 turns. So Mrs. Noble Hierarch. Alright, so I want to put that there. Actually, let's do that last. I don't know how this works. We're going to block here, and block here. I must have just clicked through that too fast last time. Well, I guess that actually doesn't even matter because I have to bounce it this turn. Opponent is probably like, what the heck is going on? It's not like you're doing anything productive, just scoop. But Solemnity. Alright, well, there's one more turn. We're going to keep one of these. We're going to go fetch. So, we have 1 Solemnity. Can't use Street Wraith. I guess Lingering Souls also might do... No. Well, we get 4 blockers, so Lingering Souls might do it. I really don't want to show them Lingering Souls. It's pretty safe for them to assume that we have it, but that means Static Casters are coming in. And Static Caster is very good against our Danto Vanguard as well as our Lingering Souls. figured out how to work Avatar of Hope. Doing big things here. Yep, and that's game one. All right, so worship is going to be how we pretty much win this. Worship. Avatar of Hope was super cute. I kind of want to leave it in just because it did what it was supposed to. Timely is actually going to be active this game. Imp's Mischief will not be. Counter target spell with a single target, essentially, is how that's going to read, or gain control of a lightning bolt. Then everything else can't really change. I mean, we can put in ley lines if we want to make it so that we can't be targeted by Kite Self Rebooter, but that just seems like it's next leveling way too hard. Collective Brutality can snag a creature, kind of. Path is going to be just 1-for-1. Death Shadows are a threat. Thoughtseize hurts, but we're going to be able to snag some stuff with it. They might be on the Meddling Mage plan to name Solemnity or Phyrexian Unlife, and that would be hilarious because it's not even our main game plan. It might need to be from what we've seen so far. It might not be incorrect to move these up and take out the Timely reinforcements. Definitely need a fourth Lingering Soul. This card is just too good. There have been games where we could have just bought one more turn or had more additional attackers in the air that could have closed it out. Leyline of the Void does nothing. Phyrexian Arena is funny, but you lose a life, which gets around the damage gets prevented clause of Worship. So can't really run that on the Worship plan. And that is super painful. We were on a mulligan of 5 last game. I forgot about that. Ooh, Phyrexian Unlife. I kind of like that. And I don't believe I'm fetching. I don't care about any of my opponent's threats enough. We also did path their turn 1 champion, and that let them get their mana early enough that they could actually start interacting with us. So we probably could have waited until after we took a damage or 2 from path without speeding up the clock against us. Alright, so I do want to stop drawing lands here. I want to save Brutality to snag something that they actually put down, so going to wait a turn on that. Duressing them can only grab another Aether Vial, which they've already got one on the field, or potentially Collected Company. Collected Company is much more relevant in Spirits, but they also didn't show us any green sources last game that could cast Coco. I'm assuming they don't have it, but it is a consideration. So this is mainly give target creature -2/-2, potentially drain. There's the champion. And I'm not under a lot of pressure here. I do have a Death Shadow in hand, but I'm going to try to preserve my life total a little bit. Again, this could probably be another cut, like putting in a Damnation over the Collective Brutality would be fantastic. Our sideboard is just super leyline heavy. Alright, let's see what you got here. I'm not going to path a Noble. Opponent did miss a land drop. That is worth noting. That's why they let out with the champion, so I could kill that and they'd protect the Noble. They can play their entire deck off of an Aether Vial, though, so unless we had an answer for this, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to try to attack their mana base. So a Kite Cell? Yep, that's fine. We're going to let them take whatever they want here, basically see if they prioritize the path or the Phyrexian Unlife more. And this is a little scary. It's reeking of a meddling mage. So if they activate this, I'm definitely pathing in response. Yep, they decided to go the unlife route. And opponent's tanking, so they've definitely got a 2-drop, and they're trying to figure out what they need to do with it. Alright, so in case we miss our land drop, I'm pathing now. Yep, there's the Meddling Mage. So now they have their choice of Phyrexian Unlife or Path to Exile. I guess they could always name Death Shadow, but that doesn't make much sense to me. Meddling Mage just stops the card from being cast. We had already cast it here, so it's not going to counter it. Yep. As expected. Then if they do decide to attack in, we're getting to the point that we could actually run out our Death Shadow. So, go ahead, opponent, do your worst. It'd be funny if they attacked in with both to not get the Exalted trigger so we wouldn't go to 13. I did cast 2 Death Shadows this game at 13, though. Twice when I thought that I had activated the thing to make it possible. So, never put it past somebody to be a little loose with their own decks. This is a brew, though, and I had never played with Death Shadow before. I do know how you have to assign combat damage based on the blockers. So, Death Shadow is, again, a state-based creature. So if you are blocking with a Death Shadow against Trample and they trample over you, Death Shadow will actually grow outside of the range of being killed. That's something most people aren't aware of, so you actually have to assign more trample damage to the creature than you're trampling over to make sure the life totals match up. Alright, so what do I want to do here? The opponent knows about the Death Shadow. I can Dismember, Meddling Mage, and Path, but I don't have enough mana. The Mantis Rider is going to be incredibly annoying. I think I have to put out a Death Shadow here and expect to Dismember. It's going to cost a lot of life, though, and we are definitely on the back foot. So at most, they could probably expect to see a Street Wraith out of us. Another Mantis Rider. We'll see if they're willing to risk these ground creatures or just coming in the air. Right now it's looking like we're dismembering Meddling Mage, and then we can Path and Death Shadow next turn, and then we just have the Mantis Rider in the air with lethal... Well, we'd be winning the clock, not lethal, but we'd be winning the clock. Death Shadow's on the ground. Alright, so this is actually looking a lot like a Reflector Mage here. I'm still going to block, though. It at least fogs the damage. Then we're going to Dismember over here. This damage will take us down to 1, which means we'll be able to go negative life off the first hit from Phyrexian Unlife. Yep, this is the Reflector Mage. Alright, so the way that this works out again is we take damage to go negative and then we get poison counters. So we will have to actually Pathalia here because the first strike damage would take us into -1 and then we'd end up taking 8 poison damage. So I'm wondering if I want to do it now. They don't really have anything to protect their creatures, so I kind of want to wait until combat. But this really did slow us down quite a bit. We can still drop these and have two 13/13 threats, and it'll put our opponent on the defensive, but we are taking a clock in the air, which means we need to see a Lingering Souls again. If you run Lingering Souls, you probably just need to run all 4. Don't cut down to 3. No matter how much you want to run Avatar of Hope. Alright, so Meddling Mage means I have to hit this, and if they call Death Shadow, they call Death Shadow. If they call Solemnity, that would be bad, but again, I'd laugh at that because we have 1. Worship won't get us out of this either. Yep, they call Death Shadow. I don't think they know about both. I think they only know about 1, but they still do know about it. So we're going to be taking a hit here for 8. It's not going to do anything. They should have left the Reflector Mage back. I guess we could have had Bow Blight or something. That works. Just got to be lucky. That's all it is. Still looking to top deck Lingering Souls, though. Or potentially another piece of removal. Alright, well, that doesn't do it. Yep, this is their most profitable block. And I'm just going to cast the Death Shadow, but that's game. Alright, and lost round 4 to humans. So not looking great. Every single time that we've gone to lose, it's basically been Lingering Souls or just not being able to protect our threats, which is a lot of the value of Stubborn Denial. Stubborn Denial is what makes the Grixis version work, as well as a little bit of Reach of Lightning Bolts. It might be incorrect not to have some number of Fatal Pushes in the stack. The CMC is pretty 3-heavy, especially considering the Grixis version is just a ton of 1-drops and pseudo 1-drops like Grimag Angler. The Solemnity lock, if we're going for it, probably needs to be more accounted for. We need to have at least 4 ofs or potentially even 3 ofs. I did really like the idea of being able to go negative with the Phyrexian Unlife, and I figured may as well just jam 1 Solemnity in there, but with no way to tutor. Solemnity does nothing on its own, and the Phyrexian Unlife has just been... I still think it's weird almost all of our opponents tonight that have seen it have been able to interact with it. Like, Blue Tron is not that popular of a deck. Like, people are aware of it, but it's definitely lower power level than the actual Tron deck. And they have Cyclonic Rift, and I guess the new Prime Speaker Vanifair deck has ways to tutor up toolbox creatures, so enchantments probably lost a little bit of value when she got printed. Jund is playing Assassin's Trophy now that Jund's kind of a thing again, or Green-Black. I think Green-Black is a little bit more of a solid list, but I know like Reed Duke is definitely going to be jamming Jund anytime that he can, and he's very successful with it. I don't know. It might just be a bad time for enchantments, and having one of something isn't relevant enough to make it work. Alright, well, this is the hand I was hoping for when I started brewing with this deck. We have a turn 2 Adanto Vanguard, can pay any amount of life, gain some life back up, and be able to control the size of our Death Shadows as need be. And it looks like we're playing against Living End. Oh boy. Alright, well, let's see what they take. I'm assuming it has to be the Vanguard here. Timely Reinforcements might be a small consideration, but Timely Reinforcements with Death Shadows aren't going to do much with each other. And this is actually looking more like the actual Death Shadow list in the 0-4 bracket. Maybe Death Shadow is just in a bad place. I want to see more of what they're doing before I decide how to fetch out. If they're Living End, I'm probably going to be very conservative. If they're Death Shadow, I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive with my life total. Plus, it's very possible they have another Thoughtseize, so... Alright, Grix is confirmed at 11, basically Death Shadow confirmed. If we were to write up the cost of this deck to have Surgical Extractions and Horizon Canopies, I think we'd be a little bit more favored to win some number of matches, but it's just not looking great with the current list. Alright, so it is Death Shadow, which means I kind of need to compete on a life total level. They have red, which means they're probably the double striking build. Oh, that's fine. It is of note that we have ran out of fetchable lands, or fetchable shock lands. Opponent was able to craft their hand a little bit better than us, but we're going to be able to swing in with a 11-11 next turn. So if opponent has no blockers, this is going to go quite poorly for them. Aw, there's the Fatal Push. And then they have the Gurmag Angler. Nope, another Death Shadow. Alright, well, it's on, opponent. Let's see what you got. Lingering Souls is quite funny. We can get 3/1/1s. We can just get 2 flying 1/1s. I think Adanto being able to pay life for next turn is going to be our best approach, and that means not taking the shock here so that we can shock twice, or we can pay for Adanto Vanguard twice. If they have the double strike, though, we're pretty effed over. Deciding if they want to attack. They pause there for a second. So it is worth noting they run Bolt. If they push or something, might not want to actually pay more life. Alright, another Death Shadow. I'm alright with that. So, gonna shock this into play, staying out of reach of Bolt, then play our Timely Reinforcements. With the Stubborn Denial, alright. Well then, Lingering Souls wouldn't have done it. We can Dismember, but we die, so honorable way out. Stubborn Denial is just way too good. Alright, what do I actually care about here? Leyline means fish is bad. Worship, but they have a lot of ways to interact with our creatures. They don't have any go wide things, so they're going to have to Stubborn Denial our Timely Reinforcements or Lingering Souls. Avatar of Hope just seems hilarious again. I just keep wanting to run this. I think this combo can just come out. They have Stubborn Denials that are going to make it. If we take our turn 3 to play one of these, we're just going to lose. Imp's Mischief is funny. Opponent, why couldn't you just let us meme? We have Imp's Mischief and Avatar of Hope in our deck. Alright, well, I don't think we need the full number of ley lines. It'd be nice to open on one, but probably just don't need the full number. Street Wraiths just don't feel great. Let's see, maybe something like this. I don't want to destroy their Death Shadow and lose a ton of life, so that is actually probably an argument to go this direction. We can bring ours back, but more than likely they're going to be more effective at bringing theirs down, and this also gets countered by Stubborn Denial. Alright, well, we have a little bit of interaction. Opponent did get a start last game on the play, and we're able to discard our hand, so hopefully this will interrupt them. And I suppose it's going to be Snappy. They don't have a lot going on to start. We have Paths. Yeah, I don't want them to get double value out of Snap. Other argument there is Death Shadow. It's their namesake card. Thought Scour enables a lot, but we have Paths, and we're kind of stuck on mana, so okay to see where this goes. They brought in Anger of the Gods. Okay, that makes our worship plan significantly worse. There's the Serum, which means Gurmag Angler's coming down. We get a Path it, and then hope to draw a land. Yep, there's Gurmag. They left Anger. Clearly know we want to go wide. We're not going to trigger both sides of Timely, so just going to Path it now. And I do want to lose life. This Death Shadow isn't that far away. Missing the land drop there is gonna hurt, though. We are running only 22 lands. It's a little bit light, but our curve is fairly low to the ground, so that doesn't feel horrible. There's Death Shadow. And let's see if you've got Street Wraith and 2 stubs. You do not. I want to invest on tokens if I can. I can't, so I'm actually just going to put out 1 Death Shadow. It makes Anger of the Gods look significantly worse, and it's just going to get Fatal pushed anyway. Yep, there that is. Knew that was going to happen. That's why I'd prefer to lead on Lingering Souls, but when we only have 2 lands, kind of have to make a concession for tempo. Show me what you got. Wow. Alright, so all of these are going to kill my stuff. I think Dismember's probably the highest value because it can make their life total go lower. I can run out my Death Shadow, they're just going to Dismember it or Fatal Push it. Dismember's going to allow them to attack for more, so I think we're passing for the turn. If we draw a land next turn, it might actually be on Death Shadow Imps Mischief. That is if we don't just die. So they see a land, they take 3 more, that's a 5/5. They'd need Thoughtseize to make it a 7/7. They can always dismember their own Death Shadow if they get a fetch land. It makes it small for the turn though, so that doesn't matter. Alright, so there's a land. This is hopefully just going to clear the board. They're still going to be able to Fatal Push, but if they try to use their mana conservatively to use it on our turn, it means that they won't have a Stubborn Denial up, more than likely. Imps Mischief, going to lose a life and redirect to their Death Shadow. And then that actually puts Dismember out of range for our Death Shadow, so that went about as good as it could go. Yep, switch to that dude. Alright, so we know about a Dismember, and their Serum Visions, they put 2 on top, and they've drawn both now. So this could start going poorly. We did finally hit our 3rd mana, though, so Timely and Lingering Souls are both looking significantly better. Alright. So Fatal Pushing. We're going to be at less life, have less creatures, so Timely is going to make us go up to 12. We'll have a couple of Chump Blockers and then Lingering Souls. That is a terrible ley line. Show me your stubs. Alright, so likely Dismembering here, just to grow the Death Shadow. I think they only run 1 K command. If they have it to pick up the Snapcaster, I'll be super far behind. But as it's standing, I get to grind out an attrition a little bit, which is what our deck wants to do a little bit better than theirs. Let's see, so I can hit for 2. I think I've got a block for a turn. This Collective Brutality has a little bit of reach our opponent won't be expecting, so if they go low enough, we can actually do something. Okay, well that's not red. So it's not K-Command yet. There's Mr. Fish. So I can attack in for 1, he goes to 6, they swing in, I'll chump block 1, have 2 attackers go to 4, Collective Brutality won't finish them off. But I have to start racing a little bit, so I'm intending to block the Death Shadow, because if they make it lose enough life, I can actually die off of that if they can go down to 1 life themselves. But in the meantime, this Gurmag Angler has me on a 3-turn clock. I know of a Dismember in hand. Oh, that sucks. Goodbye, Collective Brutality. So if they Dismember, I'm not dead. If I have them on a 2-turn clock, if I top deck something, I'm actually not going to block because it's possible. Oh, whoops. Derp the derp. Yeah, math. Oh well, that was going poorly anyway. So this deck, I'm pretty sure everybody when they first looked at this knew this was going to go horribly, but I did want to play with it. So Avatar of Hope, 3 life is way too low to go. You have to invest significantly harder into not dying. Like potentially main board Leyline, so Bolt can't kill you when you decide to go to 3. The Phyrexian Unlife combo is probably part of that strategy, and at that point you're winning by controlling the board, not putting a 4-9 into play. Adonto Vanguard does play very well with Death Shadow. It can make life totals swing very quickly, but if you're playing Adonto Vanguard, it means that your Death Shadow is coming down on turn 3, and that's something that Grixis already does very well, and doesn't rely on white pieces. The timely reinforcements are very counterproductive to the plan of this deck. When you get a Death Shadow, you want to stay on your Death Shadow, not gain life and continue grinding out. That should have been pretty straightforward going in, but timely reinforcements is just a very valuable card. If you can pay life with different effects like Dismember to get early interaction for a hollow one, it felt like you might be able to put out timely reinforcements, draw out a little bit, hopefully get to your game plan. But if your game plan is just a vanilla creature that requires your life total to be low, or a slightly evasive vanilla creature that requires your life being low, it really doesn't do enough. You need to be doing something big and threatening. Griselbrand is very unfair. It puts Griselbrand into play, draws a ton of cards, continues the combo. This is just buy some time, have a vanilla creature, and not go the distance. So it should have been pretty clear that this was poor. The ley lines definitely did need to be surgical extractions if we were actually legitimately playing this deck. Allow you to pay 2 more life, take out a threat, make your vanilla creature a little bit better because you don't have to interact with a problem on your opponent's side. Also, Horizon Canopies would have been a fantastic land in the place of the Flagstones of Tarkir. I wanted a little bit of fetching there. I wanted the ability to float mana and ramp up to your 3-drops a little bit faster. Ghost Quarters might have been okay with this plan because you're 2-color, but Horizon Canopies would allow you to pay life, similar to the Caves of Kolios, which were all-star, and they also replace themselves if you start running out of gas late game. Phyrexian Arena does continue to show that 3 mana for something that doesn't impact the board immediately is far too slow for Modern. We were playing it against the control list, and the control list just dirtled and did nothing and was Wilderness Reclamation for no reason, and they were trying to cast 6 mana spells that didn't impact the board. They drew 7 cards that didn't do anything, and we still couldn't punish them because we couldn't stick our vanilla creature and protect it. Stubborn Denial does feel very important to this game plan. Our opponent was running the white card that has Fateful Hour on it. And he was using that instead of Stubborn Denial. It felt like it was a budget consideration, but this deck definitely needs something like that. There it is. Alright, so target permanent you control gains protection from the color of your choice. Fateful Hour, if you have 5 or less life instead, you and each permanent of that color gets protection, so they were targeting Death Shadow and swinging in with Gurmag Angler. That makes it unblockable versus the color. It didn't stop any of the non-creature spells, like the Timely Reinforcements. Getting Stubborn Denial there was actually what broke that game for us. So if you're starting to make these kinds of considerations, it's probably just not correct to be doing that in the first place. The white ley line was there because I expected burn to be pretty bad when we're trying to pay life and manage our life total. That didn't come up. It also didn't really feel correct. There were times when I just wanted Damnation against humans, or I just wanted additional threat versus control. We really need the 4th Lingering Souls. There have been a couple of things I've mentioned through, but clearly this was not a success. It was pretty fun to play. It just didn't have the power level required for Modern, especially considering we were running Collective Brutalities, Path to Exiles, Death Shadows, Street Race, Lingering Souls. Like, all these cards sound great. And it's kind of been the problem with the Black-White Super Friends list that runs Sorin is these decks don't do great in Modern because of how unfair and fast the format is. Death Shadow just being a giant vanilla beater with only Path to Exile or Collective Brutality as backup isn't great. The Imp's Mischief was actually really funny. We snagged a couple of interactions off of it. We did out control the control player that one time, and like, we're not blue, but we had a stack 6 cards deep, and we ended up winning that, and that felt amazing. But other than that, like, this just kind of dirtled and died. But I mean, the record speaks for itself, 0-5. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Sorry this one didn't turn out a little bit better. I figured it was going to be a little rough, but yay, fun, white and black cards. Woo. All right, well, have a good one.